Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lauren from Lauren's Cravings over on Instagram. Today I'm going to speak about store cupboard essentials. Now, store cupboard essentials will change person to person, and it is largely based on what style of cooking they do as well, which cuisines they cook with. So because I am quite I would say British Italian for the most part, I obviously do cook like Indian, you'll see curries on my page, and like Mexican and whatnot, but that would just be me talking you through my whole pantry. So there would be no end, and I would happily do that if anyone was interested in me doing it, but there is a lot of items in my cupboards. That's why I was glad when I got a new house, because we needed the extra cupboard space. So I have kind of cheated because I've given you a couple of options, but I'll talk to you about why I've maybe grouped multiple items together, for example, and also some maybe substitutions based on whether you are a totally cook from scratch, whether you want it to be as quick as possible, those sorts of variations. So if we just launch right in, I'm going to go in with the most important in my opinion. So number one, and the most critical, well, at least one element, is salt and pepper. Now, I've grouped these together because they are generally put together. If I had to pick one, it would definitely be this one. A flavour enhancer, ultimately, is what I call salt. This one is Maldon salt, so this is generally used as a finishing seasoning. I have kosher salt. You can get a myriad of different salts, but I would encourage you to have like a seasoning salt, so nice salt crystals that you dress your dish with at the end, and then a cooking salt, because cooking veggies, pasta, potatoes, the best thing you can probably do is cook with salt. You'll see a lot of really nice restaurants never have salt on the table, and that's why it should be seasoned when it gets to the table for you. Don't be afraid of asking for it, obviously, but cook with salt. You need this. Essential. Number one for a reason. Pepper. I've got black pepper and I've got white pepper here. I have a preference really for white pepper. There's a time and place for each of them. It's probably not, I've not got enough time to discuss that in this video, but the reason my brother says my egg mayo is the best egg mayo he's ever tried, this is the secret. And black pepper, I bought this, which is like an instant grinder. Amazing. One of my best purchases in a long time. See, pepper is a spice though, like in terms of like a condiment. It's not really, it does add something, it does add a flavour. So, if you want just flavour enhancer, salt, obviously you get a salty flavour, especially if you add too much, but it lifts flavours. So if you don't cook your potatoes with salt, you'll know. If you don't cook your pasta with salt, you'll know. Your veggies, you'll know. This adds something else to a dish entirely. You see what I mean when I said I'm cheating, because technically that was two things, but I've numbered it as number one, right? Number two, oil. Now, I've brought out a couple of oils here. So this is your olive oil, the extra virgin olive oil, your rapeseed oil, vegetable oil is another one. They've all got different applications in cooking. So I cook with olive oil primarily, because remember I said that I do a lot of Italian cooking. Generally, the rule of thumb is use the oil that the cuisine you're cooking would use, and you won't go wrong with that. Extra virgin oil as dressing or salad dressings, or to finish a dish. Generally don't cook with this, you would cook with olive oil. Rapeseed oil has a high heat point, so it's a good oil as well. And as I've already said, if I'm deep frying anything, I use vegetable oil. You can use like sunflower oil, etc. Also really good, and I'm going to add another item in to. Now, number three is also a fat, similar to your oil, but it can be used and also has a totally different flavour profile, which is why I think it's important. So, butter. This is my favourite butter from George Muse. See, for just simply eating butter, I don't mean by the block you could, but on bread or whatever, even on sandwiches, see if you get yourself a really good butter. I cannot go back. I use, I'll say, basic butter for cooking, but see, when you're actually going to taste the butter, a really, really nice butter is one of the great joys of life. in my opinion, which is why I struggle to lose weight, let's be honest. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend that one. You can, with the next item, so we'll go on to item number 4 for me, which is plain flour. Now, I use this for a lot of things, not only baking, and if you've got baking soda, which I could have put in this, but I can't have had a never-ending essentials, especially when I've titled it top 10. But for me, this one is great for thickening. So thickening stews, making a roux for macaroni, making a roux for anything like a parsley sauce for salmon. This is where this is critical, but also you can use it in baking. So you can put self-raising flour, but with the simple addition of baking powder, you've got self-raising anyway, basically. So plain gets my vote. And for a roux, and this is where I say choose the fat that is applicable. Well, I said choose the oil that's applicable. Choose the fat that's applicable. So for example, if I was making a roux for a French dish, I would use butter, because that's what's generally used in French cooking. If I was using I was making a roux for a Mexican dish, for example, so in my enchilada sauce, I make a roux, but I make a roux with olive oil and flour, just because you don't find a lot of butter in Mexican cooking, but it has the exact same kind of thickening because it's the plain flour that adds the thickening agent just to thicken up that sauce. So that's us got from 1 to 4. Now on to 5. Now, item number 5 is popular across so many different cuisines, and it is just because it adds one of those elements that I think is critical and actually does in of itself enhance flavour as well, but it definitely gives its own kick. Now, you might have guessed it from that hint. Chili. So I've given you 2 options here. There is also a third, which is a puree. So you've got your dried chili, your fresh chili, and you can also use puree. It just depends on what style of cooking that you know you want to do. Now, I sometimes get this in if I know that I'm going to be cooking a lot of dishes with a variety of fresh chili. If you know that you'll waste it, or you can actually dry them out as well. That's another video for another day. But this is essentially what they are. And the purees as well, good for midweek cooking, good for when you won't finish the whole bag of chilies, or good when you just cannot be bothered. Useful, Italian, Mexican, Indian, even Chinese. So 6th item, I think there's memes on how much people love this item. Garlic. Obviously not memes on how much vampires hate them or hate it, but memes on about how many cloves to use. Now, if you listen to chefs, professional chefs, I think they use like 1-2 cloves. I did get to a point that I was honestly using, I think, about 5-6 cloves of garlic. I have learnt now that less is more, and actually I have, as my taste buds have developed, which I think they have from cooking more recently, and I say recently in the last couple of years when my food block kind of took off, and I've been experimenting a lot more with cooking, that less can be more. Now again, I've given 2 options here. So you've got your garlic puree and fresh garlic. Infinitely superior, I would say, but this does the job when you are in the situations where you can't be bothered, you don't want to chop it up, you don't want fresh garlic all over your hands, all those scenarios. This is also very handy for curries. So I've got like ginger puree and garlic puree in the fridge, and I use that a lot in my curries. Again, most people would probably recommend this, but for quickness, can't go wrong. Item number 7. Now this is where I've really cheated, because I've given 2 totally different items. Both critical in my kitchen though. But the reason I've grouped them as one is because they add the sharp element. So I've got vinegar, I've got lemon. Now I have a never-ending like resource of lemons from my bottom drawer in my fridge. It is just constantly getting topped up. I also juice lemons, and I have it in a little bottle that sits in my fridge, and I do go through it that regularly. That is how much I use it. I would say it's one of my favourite fruits, but I do have a really sharp palate. I've given you the option of white wine vinegar. It's just suitable for a lot of things. In cooking, in dressings. People who only have malt vinegar, when I go to their house, I do judge them quite harshly. I would not be lying if I said I have over 10 different flavours of vinegar in my house, and I'm not lying. So that includes ones that I've picked up in like shops, like oil and vinegar shop, for example. The mango vinegar, tomato vinegar, over 10 different vinegars. I love vinegar. Can you tell? Definitely recommend fresh. I know some people, when they cook my recipes, use like, you know, that preserved lemon, like lemon juice that you get in the bacon aisle. Put it this way, see if you were to taste test this fresh lemon juice and then taste test that, you would not. I'd like to think you would not, but there is a vast difference, so please get fresh. Number 8 is definitely influenced by my love for Italian cooking, but also Indian cooking, because I use these a lot in Indian cooking for bases for curry. Now, I always have fresh tomatoes in the fridge. Large vine tomatoes are great for so many things, like fresh pasta sauces, the base of curries. But again, if you don't think you're going to go through them, I mean, let's be honest, especially in this weather, you can put them in salads, you can put them in a BLT, you can roast them and have them with a steak. If you don't get through them, what's wrong with you? But as I said, if you don't think you're going to, I mean, just even get 2 or 3, but anyway, I'll leave that behind. Go for your tinned. And I'm saying these are an option. I actually also think these are critical. Here I am cheating again, because here's, you know, technically 2. We could class this as 1, because I've just given you 2 options here. So the peeled plum tomatoes and also Italian chopped tomatoes. You could also throw passata into the mix. I have them all. Again, applicable for different things. But sauces, curries, soups, whatever. So essential for me, because see if you want to throw together a really tasty pasta dish, even midweek. So like my arrabbiata sauce. Really quick, really easy. Tin of this. Garlic, chilli, one of the items we've got still to come, bit of oil, good to go. Number 9, again, just as a flavour enhancer, but it's so critical, and I have them all. Stock cubes. So I love ham stock cubes for use in my lentil soup, so ham hock and lentil soup, and also in my bolognese. Beef, French onion soup, stews, etc. Chicken and veg are probably the ones that I use the absolute most, because they are the most versatile, and they are the ones that probably a lot of people just generally like the flavour of. They kind of like can fly under the radar if you need them to, if you only need to use a wee half stock cube, but it can totally enhance a dish. I'm not going to go into too much kind of detail on stock cubes, because as we all know, they add flavour, and they add the flavour of the thing that is listed on the packet. So it's as basic as it needs to be. And last but not least is one of the items that probably I would say a lot of people would be on the fence about, and it's why I've given a substitute. So fresh herbs for me. Now, I was talking about arrabbiata, bit of parsley in at the end takes it to the next level, and then you add some of this stuff in and we've got fireworks. So there's a dish, add to some pasta from my 10 top pantry essential items, and you've got yourself a banging dish. Flat leaf parsley is probably my favourite herb, because it is so versatile. You can add it to so much, and again, sprinkling of herbs in the top just makes people think that you're an awesome cook, because it gives that aesthetic bit at the end, doesn't it? If you know you're not going to go through it, although I would say if you don't think you're going to go through it, you can freeze herbs. So you can freeze it in water, you can freeze it in olive oil, depending on what you're going to use it for. See, especially like mint and things that could go into a cocktail, freeze that in water, and then you just pop that ice cube into a drink. Delicious. These, I go through flat leaf parsley. I go through a bag, if not more, in a week. So this is why I always just get fresh. If not though, you could go for your mixed herbs. So handy to have for stews. In the recipes where I say use specific herbs, so for example thyme, oregano, whatever, if you know that you will not go through jars of that, it's dried. So I'd like to think that in a period of a year you would get through it. But if not, get yourself mixed herbs and just substitute it with mixed herbs. It doesn't need to be explicitly what we say, because this actually has in it marjoram, thyme, parsley and basil. So really, I mean, it says hints and tips. Perfect for all savoury dishes. That is its tagline. Meat, poultry, fish, stews and casseroles, mixed with breadcrumbs, lemon zest, coats the top of salmon. I mean, literally it has it for it says it's suitable for everything, and it really is. So invest in a wee, I mean, it's not really a wee tub, is it? It's a big tub. I think I got that from Booker, or yeah, I think it was Booker. So that is our top 10 store cupboard pantry item essential list complete. So hopefully you've made it this far, and if you have, thank you so much. Really appreciate you watching, and if you want to, you could let me know what your #1 essential item is in the comments below. If you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Bye.